Hello, my name is Meredith Glover, and I'm discussing the This American Life, The Problem We All Live With podcast. Sorry that my voice is a little scratchy. I have a cold. Um, the topic of part one was following the story of Maria and her situation with the Normandy school district, and we saw as a school district that they allowed this district to fail and to be to not pass accreditation for the longest time without closing down the school. And when they finally allowed the kids to go to other schools, we watched just as the perspective of minority students going into a privileged white school and what that looked like. And then part two was kind of the opposite. We saw schools in I can't even remember the city now, but they're going into downtown schools, magnet schools. We're bringing white kids into minority schools and seeing what that looks like. And I thought it was a really interesting difference in how that looked and how it went about. Part one, I really struggled with listening to it and honestly had to stop partway through and just cry, especially after listening to that parent meeting and just that the parents were not even focusing on the facts or why the school shut down or what was important or what would be best for the students, but just on safety and this fear of black students. And for no reason. They were saying the school was closed down because of violence, and that wasn't true. And just, especially since we're listening to it all, knowing that Maria is sitting there hearing what these people think about her. And so, I was moved by the bravery of Maria and her mom. And I just couldn't believe how much the parents and the school system and the government itself are ignoring the facts of the benefits of integration and what happens when you bring black kids and white kids and poor kids and rich kids. Like when you bring them all together, that test scores go up and they don't go down. And it's just heartbreaking to know that schools can ignore that for so long. And I thought that this was a really timely lesson, especially the part one. It was a timely lesson, just with everything that's going on, with whatever's happening with Trump's orders, and then potentially Betsy DeVos as our education secretary. Just that there's a potential for more segregation rather than more integration, and that's what we really need to be striving for, is that without integrating our schools, our kids do not have the proper chance to get the proper education. And part two, I'd obviously followed the same lines of integration being good and being necessary, but it was a completely different way of going on, or to go about it. They're starting these magnet schools and making them amazing schools, amazingly creative and different and appealing, and then marketing them to white suburban families and getting them to come in. And just that, one of the things they said that really stuck out to me was that, kids can get over poverty and they can get over a lot of other things, but what they can't get over is the stigma of separation and just basically being told that they're not allowed to be around a different type of student. But that by making this integration voluntary, there's a lot less at stake for the school district other than funding, which we learned in the end was going to be a huge thing and that they needed to bring up their numbers. And it just flips the one-way integration thing completely on its side. It's not black students going into white schools, but white students coming to these really awesome schools that have been provided as integration places. And I thought one of the things they talked about in that one that was really interesting was just how necessary it is to have this coming from a national level and how much we need our government to step in and make integration at the forefront of our education plan again. This really impacted me. I didn't know how much integration, how separate we were. I went to a school with, 2 black kids, but you only think about that being because of where you live, which is true, but we don't think about the fact that where we live maybe is determined by what happened in integration in the past and that white people fled. And so I will be definitely more passionate and aware of integration in the future. Thanks.